Arsenal.
Oh yes,
We are Arsenal.
no mercy.
We're Arsenal. Forever. We are Arsenal.
Road to Wembley.
We love Arsenal.
Yeah. This is FTP Sports. This is GunSlingerz. Yeah, this is Canners here, and actually we have another Canners here. This is Lee Canaville. It's special tonight. Just first and foremost, want everyone please to smash the likes and subscribes. Oh, wait a second, we have our resident here, Nigerian Englishman. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
Wow. That's how I felt when I heard the news that no more Super League. Blessed. Blessed. How we doing, guys? How we doing? Sorry for the lateness.
Real good, man. Love, blessed. We're all blessed. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, just introducing Lee. This is the Nigerian Englishman.
How are you, mate?
Are you all right?
Good, mate. Good. I should say Bawoni as I'm calling from Lagos. Bawoni.
Yeah, it's true. This is international for real.
That's mad,
Yeah. So look, you know, the theme of today pretty much is it's all about Lee, really. Your times, Arsenal, the things what you did back then, what you're doing now, and essentially we just want to kind of get a gist of, you know, I guess the inner workings of what happened or what goes on inside a football club, a big football club like Arsenal, how Wenger, you know, produced, you know, his teams, what it was like to kind of, you know, train with those kind of players and everything. You know, there were special players, and you know,
a couple of players that I got some specific questions about.
Yeah, you know.
and really and truly, just, you know, your journey really, and that is right now, you know, where I want to start really is your early years. You know, how you got into football. Where you started off, you know, take it way back.
Take it right back. Way back. I'm just looking at that picture. You can see the kits have changed, innit? They were baggy kits back in the day.
Yeah, no, none of that fitted stuff that we got now, right?
XLs. Everyone got an XL. But no, from being young, started playing typically like probably everyone else at 5, 6. You know, just messing about. I had an older brother that was 2 years above, so I was always trying to get involved with him and trying to play involved with his mates and that. And my first team was a team called Larkspur Rovers.
West London.
Yeah, Larkspur was my first team, under 7s. And I think I was there a couple of years, and then I ended up going to a team called Parkfield.
Parkfield, definitely remember them.
So
good team, man.
Yeah, good.
They were my rivals back in my
Were they Parkfield?
Yeah, they were kind of like Harroway, weren't they?
That's right. Yeah. So we travelled a little bit out, but I don't even really remember why I went there. I can't really remember, but went to Parkfield, and then from there I got spotted, as you do, probably in a game by Watford scout.
Yeah.
And started going there on a Monday evening, just training. It's different to now because academies now, obviously, once you join at under 9s, that's you can't play for anyone else. Whereas back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If a professional club want to sign you now from under 9s, that's it. That's your team. So you leave your grassroots team. Obviously, back in my day, you just trained with the academy, and then you played the odd game in a school holiday. But you stayed with your team, which I kind of agree with still now. You know, I think it's important for kids to still play with their mates and that. But
100%.
But yeah, ended up going to Watford. From that Parkfield team, there's actually a team got formed called Western Rangers. It was just a team that got made up. My brother was playing for the older team. And we just literally, when I look back now, I think what they did, I thought, that's a liberty. They just took all the best players. You know, when at the time you just do it, don't you? Like, I think,
who's playing there? Is it? Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, everyone just coming there. So we had our team was frightening. We had I think a lot of them. I think from that we had a couple that ended up going to play for like Watford and myself, obviously going to Arsenal. But I think we was under 11s, or under 11s or under 12. So we used to just destroy everyone in that team. And then from there, I don't even know if you know this, Trev, how young I was when I think back now, but playing for like my district and my county, got into those teams. And then I got trials for a place called Lillyshaw, which was a national school.
Do you know what, Lee? Sorry, cutting it. I mean, I remember we kind of like, because you moved out, because I'm from London, and then you moved from West London to Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
And I didn't really kind of have that much contact with you, because obviously the early years we had a lot of contacts and stuff. And then the first time I kind of like, I saw you on TV. It was some Sky program called The World of FB.
World of FB, that's right, yeah.
You was on that, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it's my cousin.
and I remember,
didn't even tell him about it, no?
Yeah, I didn't even let him know.
And the next thing I hear my dad saying, "Oh, we got tickets to Wembley to watch you play against Spain." I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No way!" I was like, "That's nuts."
Yeah. It was a mad journey, and again, at the time, you just roll with it, innit? You just that was it. I was playing for my county, Hertfordshire. We didn't have the best team. We used to get beat heavily by Inner London and all that.
Oh, Inner London always had good team.
Always strong, yeah, always strong. So, but I ended up getting invited to these trials. So I think they picked the 2 or 3 best out of each county and put them forward to these trials for Lillyshaw for the national school. I didn't even know what it was. I just was going to some trials at the time. And then I went to the Southeast one, and then got through that. And it's like, oh, okay, like, because at that time it's a bit different to now. You was only in your local little bubble. It weren't like you was now. Academies are playing everywhere, and they're playing everyone all over the country. Where I just knew I was good in my little school. And that was it. You know, and that was, I didn't know how good anyone else was, but I just knew I was good in my school. So I went to these trials, got through. Then I started finding out what this thing was for. Like, it was to leave home, like to go into the national school for 2 years. And then I was adamant I wouldn't go. But I remember my dad just saying, well, just see how far you get. Like, just see how far you get with it. So I got to like the first national trial. I think that was like the last 60. Then got through that. And then it was down to the last 32. And that's then you stayed up there for like 3 days because you started doing your medicals and all. They were going to pick 16 from that group. Look around the place. Then I started thinking, oh, this is serious, you know, and we got shown around the place by, in Lillyshaw, obviously you're there for 2 years. So the year above us, they were in their first year at the time. And it was like Michael Owen, Wes Brown. Big Michael Ball that played for Everton, John Hart.
This is fast, Michael Owen, then,
Michael
fast
Owen.
one.
He was the man
when he was still fast.
England were on the telly for under 15s, and he just broke all the records and things like that. So, so we got shown round, and I remember even up to the day, I was still saying I wasn't going to go until the letter came. And again, it was my dad that said, like, an opportunity's too good to say no to. Because I like my home life. For sure. I was happy at home.
I'd be like, son, you better pack your bag.
You know.
We are making it.
Yeah, my mum got the letter and was half happy and half not happy. So went to the national school where you left at like year 10. So year 10 and year 11, you left home. You went and stayed. You stayed up there. You went to a normal school. You know, all the boys lived together, so you had 16 lads from the year above that are in their second year, the likes of Owen and all that, and then our group came in as the new group of 16. So in my group there was, just to name drop a little bit more, there was Scott Parker's probably the biggest one out of that that's made it, and then who else was in my Franny Jeffers, Jeffers, and it was probably the best. When I look back now, it's probably the best 2 years of my life.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because
it was good.
You didn't want to go. You didn't want to go. Sorry, Lee. GunnerKing is just.
Lee, how are you, mate?
How's it going? You all right?
I'm good, thanks.
So sorry I'm late, man. I thought that today's show was at 8 today for some reason. I'm really sorry.
Hey.
Cool from it. Cool. It's cool.
So just to recap,
Just to highlight before we continue, I wasn't the late one today. Let's just say, let's throw it in. Continue.
We got that. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, the early years and everything was so similar to many, young kids and everything, and how they go. I mean, I guess speaking for myself, playing from your school, playing for your borough, then going to play for your county, and then hey, there's one thing actually. I didn't have to go for a South East Counties trial. I went straight to Lilleshall, but only for 2 days.
Okay. Yeah, you bypassed it.
Yeah, I played against Chelsea, and had a good game, and someone just said, "No, just take him up." And I got a letter in the post, and it was tickets to Lilleshall. I was like, train tickets to Lilleshall. Wow, okay, but it's last 60. But that's where I got to.
That was 61. Yeah, last 60 you go to first, isn't it? Yeah.
But no, but that is so similar to how I guess guys our age and everything. But everything's changed a lot now.
Yeah,
there's so much money involved. Is only probably about a year ago I was speaking to Reece James, and he was telling me about his and he's obviously in his early 20s, and his kind of meteoric rise, through the ranks, through Chelsea and stuff, and it's so different. And it is, as you say, you're pretty much ring fenced by that club.
Yeah,
and that's it. They have control over you in terms of what you. Yeah,
it's the difference. Obviously, now you think at 14 to 16, I was at Lilleshall. There was lads from all different Man United players, Liverpool players. I was at the time I was at Millwall, so I wasn't at Arsenal then. I never played for Millwall, but I was associated with them. Because I'd signed the schoolboy forms there. So I think 2 years after my year, it was the likes of Defoe. He was the Leon Knight. They were the last year. And then the academies come in, and it was bang, Chelsea, no one's touching our youth players, and that's how it was. And but the last kind of 6 years of the Lilleshall groups, it produced some of the best players.
Yeah.
Joe Cole, Defoe, Owen, Wes Brown, produced. They was in the last 4 years there, so it was doing something right. But I think you can see now with the crop of players that are coming in, wow, they're on a different level now. These young lads,
for sure,
on a different level.
Facilities now as well makes such a huge difference as well. Because I remember playing on pitches which is mud parks basically.
Yeah.
But now they've got everything.
They've got everything. Yeah, they got everything. They got everything for them. But to be fair, we got looked after. Obviously, that level I was at, I was playing for England under 15s. We were sponsored by Umbro. You just used to go down to the place down at the bottom of Lilleshall, and you just go and get your boots and train.
I was struggling to pay for boots.
My man just went in I have those ones, mate.
Yeah. I know. It's mad, when I think now, you just say that was it.
That was it.
I need some new Umbro trainers. I'll just pop down there and get some.
Wow. Is that literally what it was like?
Wow.
Mate, I'd always need new trainers.
Oh, no.
Just I'll buy one, sell one. Buy one, sell one. Hey.
What you get for me for Christmas, isn't it? A pair of Umbro trainers or whatever, boy.
And the stock room was mad. You can imagine.
Christmas and birthday.
The stock
room.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. So now we're up with you at Millwall, and you say you don't play. So how did the move then to Arsenal come about?
So at Lilleshall, obviously, you play different clubs every week. So we was at that time apparently the best 16 in the country that was together. So we trained every day. We went to a normal school, but after school we trained. And then on a Sunday we'd play a game, and we'd play Man United, we'd play Arsenal, we'd play Tottenham, and they would come to us. And the odd time we would go down there, but they would travel up to us and we'd play the games. So you can imagine the teams are watching us lot. They're
Yeah.
they're seeing, especially the bigger teams. At the time, I'm at Millwall, so the big teams were watching if they thought I was good enough, obviously. So we had a couple of lads at Man U. And at Arsenal at this time, this is in 95, 96. Arsenal ain't the team they were in 98.
That's Bruce Real time then, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit before that. So you imagine at that time it's Man U and they're the boys, they're the Cantona and all that, yeah. So when I came towards the end, I knew I was going to leave Millwall, and I think Millwall knew. So all they were trying to do was to get the best contract deal they could get.
Okay.
So when it came to it, there was two clubs. It was Arsenal or it was Leeds. Leeds were up and coming at that time with Woodgate and Allen, and McPhail and Kuehl and all that. So they would just bought Rio Ferdinand. So they were the up and coming team as well. And I knew I was going to go to Arsenal, but Leeds were offering money, like big money.
Wait, Lee, are you an Arsenal fan?
Yeah.
You were before,
okay. Yeah. So it was
no brainer.
And Arsenal, London Colney was up the road from my home, so I lived away for 2 years. So all I could think is, I'm going home.
Yeah,
that probably weighed in more.
Yeah, where Leeds, it would have been back into moving to Leeds and staying in digs and staying with a family, and so it was a no-brainer. So it weren't even at that time as well. I was 16, and I think at that time it weren't even thinking about any money, because you just thought at that time, I'm just thinking I'm going to make it anyway, so it don't matter. That's your mentality. So I don't care what they're offering me yet, because I'll make it at Arsenal instead and get more money there. So that was my mentality. So at 16, I signed a 1-year YTS. So everyone had to do a year no matter what. It didn't care how good you were, because on your 17th birthday, you could sign as a pro. So I wasn't 17 till March anyway. So from that summer all the way to March, I was going to be a YTS anyway. But some lads, if their birthdays were September, they could have signed near enough straight away. And so Arsenal made sure everyone did at least 1 year YTS, no matter how good you are. And then after that 1 year, I signed a 3-year professional. So I already knew going into Arsenal at 16 that I was signing a 4-year deal. So my time then was to then get into the first team. That was obviously the aim.
The target,
the aim, And yes, and then obviously going to Arsenal was mad, because when I signed, obviously, and they're competing with Leeds as well. You know what? Obviously, my dad, Trev, he's negotiates, isn't he? He wants to negotiate everything. So, he wants to negotiate everything, like, no matter what it is, petrol money, everything.
My type of guy, like
extra tickets for home games. Everything.
So
he was so with Arsenal, they looked after my mum and dad well while I was living at home. But it was one thing they asked me. He said, again, when you're a YTS, you have to clean boots.
Okay.
So this was back in the day when YTSs did something. You know what I mean? Now they don't do no jobs.
Nothing, man.
They don't do nothing. So they asked me whose boots do you want to clean? You can pick 2 players. So obviously I was a defender, so I picked Adams and Bolds.
Wow.
Adams and Bolds,
mad.
They were the 2 centre backs.
Oh shit.
Big shoes, man.
Big shoes. Big shoes. Yeah. Adams at the time,
clean,
I didn't know. Adams was wearing red Asics. I don't know if you remember. He's wearing red.
Yeah, I do remember them. Yeah. I do remember them.
So I had
you had to get them spotless.
A little special polish like that. I had to do.
Oh, mate.
So
that's
No, but that education goes as part of football, man. I think that they're taking that stuff away from it.
Yeah,
that's why.
My first day then at Arsenal. Obviously, you go and meet.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
birthday.
So that was my first day. So Adams, he runs Arsenal anyway. So he's the man, isn't he? So my first day, I go and meet my players, and that was perfect for me, because Adams then from that day he watched out for me and all that. So,
wow.
Yeah. So the first day I went in, he knew my name, and I don't know whether he must have researched it. It weren't like I'm this player, like so. Just those little things. So when I come in, he was like, "Lee Canoville, how are you?" I was like, oh, all
You
right.
must have felt. Wow, man, that was a touch.
I know
Like,
my
you know what? Like,
He knows my name. Yeah, he knows
is
my
there another
name.
Lee about? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
I would have been, mate, gassed.
Yeah,
Well,
gas. Yeah.
I mean, so you know, with you training and everything, was it those two who pretty much kind of took you under their wing, looked out for you, who kind of helped you settle in, or was there kind of someone else who kind of I don't know, who you more kind of like, I don't know, buddied up with, you know, to kind of settle yourself down there and stuff?
It was different at the time again, because Arsenal's training ground, we trained at it's not the training ground it was. We ended up moving to the one they're in now, but we trained at London Colney, where Watford are training now.
Right.
And the first team, I don't know, this was obviously going back to 1997 now, but there was a fire at London Colney, so the first team never trained there. So they used to get a bus. They used to go and meet at Sopwell House, it was called. And they would get changed there and then get the coach down to the training ground. But we would change. We had porter cabins at London Colney, so the youth team and reserves would change there. So you never really. So we'd all eat together, but you didn't get to see them as much as what I did when rolling on a couple of years when we all went into the new training ground. You're all there then. So that first year, my YTS year, I didn't get to see a lot of the first team, just when they really come and pick their boots up and that, and I had a quick chat, and that was it. So it was for me, I'm just starstruck. You know what I mean? Like Ian Wright come in and he'd dive in, he'd come in, like, and I'm just like, oh, what?
Because what you see on TV, right? And now you're
lively.
Now you're
lively.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So Wenger was the manager when you signed YTS. So
Wenger had came in the 96 halfway through the season, hadn't he?
Right.
And I signed in the 97.
Yeah.
So he came halfway through the 96-97 season.
Right.
And then the 97-98 season is the year I joined when they did the double. Wow. So that was the first year. So my YTS year was the year they did the double.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts.
You must have thought, listen, man, this is
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the league champions, buzzing.
Yeah.
I mean,
also,
as well, you got that kind of that carrot, that proverbial carrot being dangled, because you had a 17-year-old Anelka getting him
coming that season. Yeah.
I mean, did he ever train with you guys first off?
Yeah, he came in with us first.
What was he above everyone else?
Yeah.
You can tell from there, yeah.
He's a joke, yeah. He was just lightning. Lightning. Couldn't get near him. You know, so like, and then you're thinking, because he was 17, so he was 2 years older than me.
Right.
I think he was coming up to 18, so he was 2 years older than me, and I'm looking at him thinking, wow, that's the level. Yeah, that's the level you need to be, because obviously he's trying to get into Ian Wright's position, and everyone starts saying like, he's not
no way, mate.
Yeah, you can't take out Wrighty. And then obviously halfway through that season, he's coming in and like, oh wow,
smashed it.
Dude. But yeah, he was special. You could see it. You could see it straight away. He was direct. He was quick. His movement. He was both-footed. He was good, man. He was good.
Is there any other player during that period that maybe we didn't get to see enough of him, but that you thought at the club, wow, this guy's a player. He's going to go on to do big things. Is there anyone else that we wouldn't know about?
What, like youngster-wise?
Yeah, youngster.
I know he weren't a youngster, but he came in, but it was all to do with the work permit in, but obviously Silvino, the left back.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. And I think that him not getting his papers and things obviously massively then helped Ashley. You know, and when they talk about a bit of luck and you need don't get me wrong, Ashley was on another level, but when you talk about needing a bit of luck, that was his bit of luck. Would he have got in as quick as I don't know? I don't think so. Silvino was unbelievable.
That was really crazy.
Yeah, it was so odd. Yeah, because he was doing it like he was playing bad.
He was like, hey, what's going on?
I know. I don't. It was something to do. Was it not playing enough for Brazil or something?
Something like that. Yeah. You have to have a certain amount of
something
games
to do
for
with
Brazil.
You have to have played a certain amount of games at international level,
Yeah.
to get clearance for your.
Was he competing with Carlos them times as well?
With who?
Yeah.
Like would Roberto
yeah,
Carlos
of
would have
course.
been the left back then?
No
wouldn't it?
Of
chance.
course. So he's struggling, isn't he? But he was excellent. There were some really good young players that obviously never made it there. You know, our youth team was amazing. We lost in the end to Leeds, funny enough, in the Youth Cup. But our youth team was, you know, we beat all the other teams quite easily.
Yeah.
So, but out of that, when I look at the players, everyone kind of, bar probably two, had a career in the game.
Yeah.
You know, whether that was lower leagues or anything. The biggest one obviously was Ashley. He was my year. He was obviously the standout. He was
Definitely. But there's one player that I never quite figured out what went wrong with him, because he broke into the team during that double winning or just after. Stephen Hughes.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was going to be a little prospect. He looked decent when he filled in. Like, what happened with him?
He obviously at the time you got Petit and Vieira in that first. He couldn't get in.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever missed a game. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's not like nowadays.
Unless it was suspensions.
Yeah, true.
And then
we saw it.
I think he'd have Remy Gard coming in or something like
Remy
that.
Gard, Grimonde.
Yeah.
So he was probably the number 3 centre mid there at the time, but he just couldn't. Every time if he got in for 3 games for whatever reason, and Vieira and Petit are back, they're back in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, no matter what, it's like you had a very decent career as well. You know, we're looking at Northampton, Torquay, Boston, Shrewsbury, Notts County. I'm just naming off, a few of the teams and everything. So I mean, like, it's great living, to be a footballer. I mean, the grounding what you had at Arsenal. Do you think, the coaches? I mean, who were the coaches? Was it Don Howe?
Don Howe, legend. Don Howe,
rest in peace.
Yeah.
Did Wenger? Did you learn anything from Wenger or those guys? Who basically molded you into the player that you became?
Don Howe. Yeah, Don Howe. Don Howe was overseeing the whole of the youth. I ended up having at 17. So during my second year, so my first year professional, I had to have an operation in February time, and that's what I was out for a year.
At that age as well, man.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get back, and
because you're still growing physically.
I was quite scrawny still at that age. I never really developed until I was probably about 21, 22, to be honest. So I was still quite. I
remember seeing you after like a few years, and thinking, "Shit, he's huge."
Yeah, I developed. Yeah. I developed late. I just went like that way.
Yeah.
And nothing. So I was always quick, and I was always, I had the speed, but I didn't. When I'm looking back now, if I was coaching a young kid now, obviously it's even my lad who's 13 now, the importance of the physical side of the game is massive. You've got to be strong, and you've got to be powerful, and you've got to be explosive. So when you're looking at all these top players, even back then, you look at Vieira, he was big, he was powerful, but he was explosive as well. He weren't rapid over 100 yards, but he was.
He can catch you somehow, right?
It's like a Yaya. You're powerful.
Yeah.
You ain't getting the ball.
Yeah.
When you look at Anelka, quite slim frame, but gone. Can't get near him. So the explosives, the speeds, but my coaches, Don Howe was the overseeing it. Liam Brady was youth development. He got Brady. He was the one who scouted me, Brady. And then you've got Don Gibbons was our under-19s coach.
Names there, flip, say.
Yeah, Don Gibbons was good. Yeah, and then Pat Rice was obviously the assistant, and then George Armstrong was the reserves. Rest in peace, Geordie Armstrong, and then obviously Wenger. But before I got that injury, I was playing for England. So I was playing for England under 17s and under 18s.
Okay.
And so I was only 16 at the time, and I was going in training with the first team in my YTS year. So that was mad.
Oh my God. So,
Yeah.
so what, they would tell you, right, okay, Lee, come on, you got to mark such and such.
Yeah, so go in, you just, because remember they were separate. So
Yeah.
it weren't like, so go into the training as normal. And the kit man would come in with a different kit. That was the first time I didn't know anything different. Kit man coming with a different kit. And so I didn't have a squad number or anything. So he just put me in a first. So I was like, he said, you're with the first team today. So he said, wait till the boss comes down. He wants a quick chat with you. So I'm like, what? What? All the other lads are bantering me like,
yeah.
he's doing himself and all that. So they've gone out to train, and I'm there waiting for the first team to come down. And then the boss has come in and just said,
Was you nervous?
Yeah, oh God, yeah. And this is where the likes of Adams and that come in, because I don't know whether he knew or what, but obviously as they've come off, he's come straight to me and said, yeah, come with me. So we walked over, and then I trained, and I did okay, but it was an eye opener. And Wenger used to do that a lot. He would bring people in and just see how they coped.
Yeah.
And see how they handled it.
Did he have a word with you after? And did he kind
of? No. Then the next day, then I was with him again, and then I think it was international break coming up, so all the internationals went off. And then after that, Pat Rice come to me after and said, well done, like you've proved now you can mix it with ability wise. He says, now you just got to get stronger. Yeah. And that was it. But yeah, that was my first experience training with the first team. And it was like, oh wow, yeah, it was madness. It was mad.
Guys,
what was that training session like?
I was going to say, actually, you guys have any questions?
That training session.
I got a bag of questions.
Yeah, I want to know about specifically that training possession. Possession, sorry.
You can imagine. And again, at the time, I didn't really appreciate how tough that session was, because you just go along with it. But
in the moment, right?
I was on the outskirts of the possession. It was bang, 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 bang. And if you gave the ball away, like, you know what I mean, you're struggling to get it back. It was sharp. It was so sharp, and that's the difference I saw. But again, my mindset was different to how it would be now, looking at going, bloody, oh God, the Arsenal first thing, because my mindset at that time was I can.
You were in it, right?
Yeah, this is me. It's weird now.
I get what you mean.
This is where it's supposed to be, right?
This is what I'm meant to be doing. Do you know what I mean? So it weren't like I was nervous. But I didn't think of it being out of my depth, even though I was only 16. I thought this is the next route of what I'm, because at that time I had, and I say this to my sons now, I said I didn't have any negative thing happen to me at this time.
Yeah.
Everything I went for, I got in. So I went to last for England, got in. Went to Lillishall, got in. Wanted to go to Arsenal, I got there. Wanted to be a professional, they gave it to me. Do you know what I mean? So this next thing was, I'm training with the first team. That's part of the journey. That's part of the process. Yeah. So it's weird. It seems weird saying that now, because I know how it's sounding, but I can't remember what my mind was like then. It weren't. So when I used to come home, you could imagine my dad. He was like, "What happened?"
Mate.
As in, I was, and I was like, it's trained, it's cool.
Bro, I'm just telling my future sons, you guys are football players. Just so you know.
That's it.
Where are you at? Yeah, that's it. And I'll be at the interviews like,
details. I'm like,
in training, hardest player to mark.
Hardest player in training. When obviously later on it was Armoury, because I ended up. I was a centre back originally, and again I talked about my physical side. I ended up making my debut for Arsenal as a right back. So I played a majority of 90% of my career then as a right back. So as you imagine, what Wenger always used to do was, before a big game, he would bring the reserves or the overs over to set up as that team they were going to play. as you imagine, I'm the right back. So you imagine back in the day when Arsenal were flying, you got Armoury out to the left, you got Perez coming, Ashley Cole.
Actually behind now, man. Them 7-second goals they used to score. Cole, Perez,
and I'm the right back. Yeah, I'm the right back.
Literally,
every attack is like that attack would finish, it would be like bang, next attack. So they'd start with the ball every time. Then it would build again, build. But I know it's coming out to me.
It's coming out to me now. Okay.
I'm putting it out again. That is one of them. But no, man. That was Armoury. Yeah, Armoury was he was Anelka was quick, explosive, quick. Armoury was that probably more, but powerful with it.
Yeah.
He turned into a machine, wasn't it?
Machine.
He was a unit at Arsenal after a couple of years, man. Absolute unit.
Wow. Squads is
So obviously, being from Nigeria, you know who I'm going to inquire about now. Yeah. So, do you remember any specific ridiculous things that he did in training?
Yeah, because it was against me, I'll tell you. He did, right? Again, it was a time I came back from my injury, and I remember I wasn't playing. I was playing still in the youth team to get my fitness back, and then the reserves. I remember this one game I was sub and I didn't even come on, and I was fuming. And Pat Rice was taking the game.
Yeah.
He came in after and said, I didn't want to risk you today because you're going to come and train with the first team all next week. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll take it.
Yeah. So I think they was, when I look back now, I think they was testing to see how, if I'd recovered, from my injury. And to see me up closer than maybe what I was needing, maybe give me another level to go up and see where I was. So that week was probably the hardest week of my life because I wasn't fit yet. I still wasn't fit. And I just remember going home every day after training, going to bed, like sharp. But Canu was the one because he gave me torrids every day because his favourite one was a chop and it chop. Chop. And I remember this one time, but I was pleased because I stayed with him, but he must have chopped me about 6 times. And I kept diving to block it because I think he's going to shoot. And then I'd dive and he'd chop again, but I'd get up quick. And he'd done it. He must have done it 6 times. And eventually, then I think he felt sorry for me. Then he shot and then I blocked it. He did look and just smile. Like he was the nicest guy. Always helped the young lads because he was very quiet, but always spoke quietly to the young boys. And because he was some player.
Was he a good trainer?
Nah.
I didn't think.
Nah, he weren't a good. He showed bits in training, but he never. When you look at the difference, I mean, someone like Ray Parlour was probably the best trainer.
Yeah,
because not because of the ability, but just
sheer heart.
Probably like a James Milner now for Liverpool. I can imagine him, like that you'd want him on your team because he's just going to work and run and run and run and run and run.
Never going to stop.
But Canu would come out with things that no one else could do. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes we would finish early and we'd go and watch the first team train, and it'd normally be the end, so they're doing a game. Wenger would always do a box-to-box game, a proper game at the end, and it was just good to see him, Canu, because you see him just floating about and it just do some mad things. Because you want to see that. You want to see
100%. 100%.
One
of them ones like that,
yo. So, Canu, he was... I mean, when you think them 4 strikers there at the time, it was him, Wiltord, Armoury, Bergkamp. Them 4...
Mate,
that's ridiculous.
Training must have been madness, mate.
Yeah, Canu and Bergkamp, they're touching.
You have seen things. You have seen things.
Yeah. Some mad things.
To watch that, be a part of that, in training, and then when you see certain things come off in games, you be like, I see that happening. I see that, or feeling sorry for the opposition defenders because you know what's going to happen. Right?
You know
what I mean? So it must have been such a crazy thing for a young lad and everything to get into. And I think that's what Arsenal, I would say, kind of lack today. They lack those kind of players of that ilk, where young players such as yourself coming in and saying to them, okay, this is the level I've got to be at. This is, this is the level where, top players aren't. It's kind of like, at the moment.
I don't think Arsenal have got any. Like as a young lad now, 16, I don't think none of them 16-year-olds are looking at anyone in that first team now and going, oh.
Yeah.
Like how I was.
Literally, real talk.
That's exactly what I mean.
At best, they would look at like a Saka and say, "Oh, he's made it." So
as a young lad,
yeah.
No one is 30 plus that you're like, geez, like I remember my first that day was like I was a boy and they were men. They were proper men. I don't think they ain't got that.
Clean Adams, Adams, Bold, and then Keown was there.
Yeah. Seaman, Dixon.
Look at the names you're dropping, bro. Like, as in, bro, I would have been starstruck for a little while. I'm not gonna lie to you, in a little while. Literally, I remember meeting Seaman and Merson after the Cup Winners' Cup final in 93, 94, and I literally for the first 2 seconds I was like,
you could do.
Yeah, Dad, take the picture. Yeah. Literally, mate.
I felt the same when I met Tony Adams at a charity dinner. Basically, my partner's work managed to get the tickets, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to go to this dinner? It's got like these football players like Tony Adams and Gazarin." I was like,
Like
"No, I wouldn't like to go."
Players,
I'll go.
I suppose I'll have to,
if you insist, because it's for you, babe. It's for you. I'm doing it.
So, Lee, I mean, I want to ask you, kind of, move on really in terms of what was your highlight at Arsenal, what was your highlight, and what's your, sorry to ask, your low light there?
Highlight was my debut. So I came on in what was then called the Worthington Cup. Obviously Wenger plays his young boys, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was Ipswich at Highbury. I came on, I think, with about 20 minutes to go. That was because I was warming up, and I didn't think I was right back or centre back. I think at the time we're drawing 1-1. I think Pennant had scored, and we're drawing 1-1. And I'm not thinking I'm coming on. We're looking to win the game, but I think that one of the defenders went down injured. And I just remember I'm warming up and I just pat her eyes. I just heard her say, "Canners." And I'm like, oh, I'm not. My first thought was like, no, like, what's going on? I was going to run back. I was like, oh my days. But yeah, that was a buzz because all I remember is Wenger saying to me, "You're marking Scowcroft at corners. Like, just remember you're marking Scowcroft." I was like, okay.
He was big as well. He was a unit, wasn't he? He was
big lad, yeah. That's what I thought. I thought, oh my God, I hope they don't score from a corner. That's all I was thinking. I hope they don't come near Scowcroft. But I come on.
He's easing you in gently. That's what that was.
Yeah, go and mark their biggest player. I'm thinking remember Stepanovs?
Yeah.
He's playing. Why aren't they Upson? I'm thinking, why aren't they picking him up?
Because Stepanovs.
That's right.
Yeah, embarrassing he is. But yeah, all I remember coming on thinking, like, just get a good first touch. Just whatever happens, just make sure your first touch. And it was. I mean, I remember the ball got played out to me, and I took the first touch, and it was like my first touch took me sort of past the player closing me down.
No.
And then I just remember looking up to try and pass, but nothing was really on, so I just carried on. And then I forgot who it was, but someone blocked someone, so I was able to carry on down the line. I ended up then doing a 1-2, and I tried to cross it, but I was stretching it I put it over the bar, but the crowd, it was like a...
That must have been...
It was one of Wiltord's. They just signed Wiltord for 13 million, I think it cost, didn't it, at the time? He played... and I never saw this, but my mate Dino was at the game, and he said, like, I can't believe that Wiltord was just clapping you when you did that. And I'm sort of just jumped back in, like, my first touch is all right. Like, but yeah, I did all right in that. But that was a buzz. Obviously, my family there, and that mum and dad were proud. But
as a parent, you know, watching your son come on for his debut, do you know what I mean? In a pack, you know, your Pat's Highbury in them days, whatever, and then seeing him do something like that, I would well up.
Straight. I know for a fact I will. Now I'm talking it into existence like it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's happening. I mean that's such a proud parent moment, man.
Yeah, definitely. Because I can appreciate it now, obviously, being a parent. You know, I can appreciate it.
All the hours that your dad's putting, taking you to games, you know, on the Sunday mornings when it's raining, it's or whatever and everything. That's when you just say, and they did, obviously. My mum and dad, you know, at Lillyshaw, that's a 2.5-hour drive for them. Every Sunday morning, they were there. Oh wow!
You know, every Sunday morning, because then we'd play the game. They'd see me all week, obviously, because I'm living away, and then we'd go out. And so when I look back again, I thought there wasn't one week that my mum and dad didn't come. Do you know what I mean? So when
you can't put a price on that.
No.
You know, as for someone so young, because it is. I mean, it's one thing, you know, kids go where, you know, after their A levels to university. That's one thing, because but at that time they're kind of like young,
they're ready to go, innit? Yeah.
But
14,
yeah. You know, and you're sanctioning your son to.
Not easy.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. And then obviously my brother at the time, he was a pro at Millwall.
He was a young pro as well.
He left home. He left home at 16 because he had to go. He was a YTS, so he moved down to Bromley with my auntie. He lived down there, you know. So yeah, it must have been strange for mum and dad. When I look now as a parent, I feel like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Their kids, you don't think your kids are leaving home at 14 and 16. You think, you know, you've got an empty house at that age. I bet I'm surprised they're still together. I think that's an early way to, isn't it? That's early for them to be left alone like that.
I mean, thinking about it now, I mean, as a parent, would you not think twice about your son going?
Yeah, it'd be tough, you know, I think, because my oldest now's 13, you know, I'm saying, so this is you next year going trials and, you know, and getting that acceptance letter. I think I'd really struggle, but yeah, I don't know. And obviously my eldest does play, you know, and he's decent. So it's one of them. If the club was to come in, you know, and move, you had to move. Well, I couldn't say no because I did it, you know, so. But it'd be tough. That would be tough.
God damn.
Yeah.
And your lowest point.
It was probably my injury. Well, not the injury itself, because again, you have the injury and you think you're coming back. I remember I was out for about 4 months. And you know, not all of that's just being injured. 2 of that months was probably on bikes and, you know, getting your fitness work done. And I remember coming back and training for my second day, breaking down again, you know, with the knee. And I just remember I knew same pain. So I remember just walking in, told Donnell was the coach, walked in, told him I'm struggling. He said, go in. I remember someone trying to give me banter, like, as I walked in, like, you injured again? And I told him to, you know what I mean? Like, I was done. I've got in the change room, burst into tears, because I just thought I'm out for another 4 months. And
because you know what it means, basically, you know.
I couldn't, you know, and you're seeing people come up, you know, training. Other lads are going to train with the first team now, you know, and I'm there, like, going off on a bike ride, or, you know, so people think it's, oh, you're injured, you're getting paid, or you do it, you know, no, I ain't. You want to play.
It's mental as well, because you have to get over that hurdle of, okay, it's happened once. You're now getting back to some sort of fitness, but then it happens again, and you're back to square one again, and to go through all of that again.
And I was 17, 18. You know, it's not I was a kid still, really. You know. To deal with that, it was tough. It was tough. And I remember Don Howe was the one who come into the change room. So he must have walked out of training, to be fair to him. I was in the changing room just crying.
Yeah.
And he's come in and he just like consoled me and just said, "You'll be all right, you'll come back." And then
Class,
I
innit?
remember, all I remember is I remember him going into the medical room and I just heard shouting him going, "You have to get this kid better. You know, you have to, why is this kid broke down?" You know, he was going on one, hammering the physios. I'm thinking, wow, it's not their fault. Like,
What a legend, though, man.
yeah, I loved
He's a
Donald.
legend.
He was,
Yeah.
And in that
Absolutely.
summer, when I came that summer, and this is what people, again, you know, how he was, he got me in that summer. I remember him coming up to me at the end of the season. I just got back playing. And I must have played like 2 reserve games, and that was it. And then I was obviously the summer was the end of season. Yeah. And he said to me, "You booked any holidays?" And I booked a holiday with the boys and that for a couple of weeks. And then,
Hey,
and he said, what day? Yeah. I mean, a napper. I had napper.
Hey,
Oh
yeah,
my
them
God.
times there as well.
We're not even going to go there.
You can imagine, innit? You can imagine. Yeah, carnage.
Quiet one,
so he
quiet
said,
one.
what dates are you going? So I told him, and he says, right, you're going to come in to train 3 days a week when you're not on holiday. And I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah. He said, we'll get you ready for the new season. So I thought on that first day I'm going in, I thought there'd be a few people in. It was me and him.
Wow.
Yeah, London Colney. I got there at 10 o'clock. Everything was set up, so I'm driving in and I can see the cones and that set up. I can see him out there, so I'm thinking I'm going to go and there's be a few lads. But no, he said, no, it's me and you 3 times a week for the next 4 weeks.
Wow,
So
that's amazing, man. Big up, Don, man.
You know what I mean? And I was
Big up,
like,
man.
so again, when I think, wow, he's come out of his house. Like, and we was there a good 90 minutes. You know, it weren't like a quick. It was 90 minutes of work, and he beasted me, but I needed it. Yeah, I needed it. And I did, and I came back that next season. That was the season I made my debut. You know, so I was knocking on the door a little bit. I wasn't quite good enough in the end to break into that team.
Yeah.
But he got me back to where I needed to be, I think, to have a career in the game, because I think I could have very easily been struggling with my knee. My knee still played me up all through my career, but I had to do these exercises. I had to look after, I had to manage it all through my career. But I think that mentally got me stronger, what he made me do in those 4 weeks. I've got my respect for Don Al.
That's mad. Big up, Don. RIP, legend.
Absolutely
legend.
Absolutely.
But he dropped a name in when you were talking about you dropped Jermaine Pennant in there somewhere. So are the stories true about how disruptive he really was? Now?
About Penn.
Oh yeah.
Changed now. Yeah, Pennant, he's a lunatic.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy. The thing with Jermaine is he left Nottingham, where I live now, but he left Nottingham at the age of 15 to come to London. Pennant won't mind me saying either. You know, he had a background that was a tough background. Yeah. You know, so he's come down to London to live with his grandma, and I don't think I can control him now as his dad. You know what I mean? So he's moved to London as a kid. He was some
signed for Arsenal.
Signed for Arsenal. He's on big money. He's that way entailed anyway. He wants to go out. He wants to meet people. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. So, but he was a big talent. And
yeah,
I say the same to Pete. Pennant had a very good career. He played for Liverpool. He went and played out in Spain. But his career should have been an Ashley Cole career.
Really? That good?
Yeah.
Where would you have played him? What would you say was his best position as well, by the way?
He was the only thing that would have got him Pennant's way was Beckham, because he was a wing. He was a right winger, but
because he had the delivery, didn't he, as well?
His delivery was it was up there with Beck. Some people think I'm quoting that. His delivery on the run
up there with Beck's. Are you hearing the name you're quoting?
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you.
David
his
Beckham.
Delivery, because it was at his full speed.
Okay.
He could whip balls crazy at speed by beating a man at pace like that. But he was an amazing talent, and he should have done better than what he had. A good career, but he should have done better.
Yeah.
And that's Pennant, and that's him, and he'd be the first to admit that.
Yeah.
But he enjoyed his life.
He's such a good guy.
He definitely enjoyed his life for
He
sure.
enjoyed his time.
No doubt about that.
So, I guess what I wanted to kind of look really, I guess, to kind of wind down really. I mean, I don't know if you guys, GunnerKing, Nigerian Englishman, you guys got any kind of burning questions you'd like
There's
to ask?
there's one question I've got, and I think it ties in with like what you were saying about Pennant as well at the moment. I was just speaking to my partner about Ronnie O'Sullivan, a snooker player. There, like when you kind of achieve so much so quickly at such a young age.
Yeah.
Do you think it's become easier for young players to deal with that, like in a more general sense, or do you think that's probably harder in today's day and age with the internet and sort of social media and like sort of the way it's kind of made life now? Do you think that makes it harder to deal with that side of the game?
I think younger players have probably had to become more mature than probably the younger players of what we was, because there was no camera phones back in our day when you're on a night out and all that. So I think there's a lot more.
For real.
Anytime. Ain't paparazzi, you get snapped by anyone in that bar. Like, so I think they're more aware of, from a younger age, of what the modern life is, obviously, because they're in it. So I think it's probably a little bit easier from in that sense, not because it is easy. I think they've just had to make it their mentality that it needs to be like that. And I just think now that, I don't get players that are on social media. I think you're opening yourself up for rival clubs hammering you, your own fans hammering you. But if they're happy to do that and to I don't understand anyone that has their thing public like that, but that's what people do, innit? And people got different. I would never have done that. I would struggle with anyone trying to hammer me because I'd want to say something back. But again, it's the maturity maybe of what they're used to. So I think their younger players now have to deal with a lot more. But I think because of their maturity with it all in modern life, I think they're able to deal with it a lot easier.
Yeah, it is tough. I can imagine.
It is.
The self-restraint you have to have. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Camera phones back in those days they weren't around then.
Imagine. I know.
I'm glad they weren't at certain venues for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, big news throughout this whole week was the whole Super European League, and obviously the proposals that were put in place and everything. I mean, for you, growing up through the ranks and everything, and then I think your son, he's at Notts County. He said, that would just kill him, wouldn't it? Really, if this league, do you have any thoughts on that, or any kind of thoughts on? I was going to say that obviously I don't want to talk bad about the ownership of Arsenal, but how do you feel that the place has changed over the years? With obviously the ownership has changed hands. Do you feel that there has been a shift in terms of culture at the club? And do you have any thoughts, obviously, on the European Super League that was mooted?
The Super League, I was fuming, Trev. I thought it was a joke at the start. I thought someone was messing about, but when I thought, wow, they're serious with it. I just didn't get exactly what come out in the end. How can players expect to want to win? How are you meant to want to win games, knowing that you've got a God-given right to then go into the biggest competition at the end of every season? So Arsenal now not doing well enough, and that will eventually, it won't be yet because players' mentalities will be different. But you imagine that carried on in 10 years' time. Players' mentalities were changing over the years. These young kids coming up, knowing that I just go to if I'm good enough, I go to the best clubs because I play in the top competition. No matter how well we do in the season, don't matter. And Arsenal at the minute are not good enough to win the Premier League, so they don't care then. It don't matter if we finish 10th or 4th or 5th or 6th or.
There's no.
Imagine the fans on that, and they want to charge big money for people to come and watch that. Yeah. So I thought it was a joke, and when I realised it weren't, and I'm pleased that the biggest people on the TV had their voice to say what everyone was probably thinking. Yeah, you know what I mean, like your Nevilles and your Carragers and your Linekers and your Ferdinands. You know, I'm pleased they had that platform to go because everyone was thinking it. But so I'm annoyed with Arsenal. I'm annoyed that they've even entertained that. And I don't care if they had to, I know Germany's different because they're they're owned more by the fans, but the respect that one of those clubs would have had to decline it.
Oh, could you imagine?
You know what I mean?
Could you imagine? That would have been, I would have been so proud as an Arsenal.
So proud,
for my club to reject that stupidness, that.
But look at our owners. It was never going to happen with our owners.
No. For me, it's not the fact that they entertained it. And this doesn't just apply to Arsenal. It applies to all 12 clubs involved. It seems all of them deliberated on this decision and made it, and not one thought. Maybe we should ask our fans what they want.
Yeah.
They do make us who we are. Our memories. How they live on. It's because the fans tell these stories. They pass them on to their children and their children's children. And that's how our names get etched in folklore.
For sure.
Maybe we should ask them what they think. And I think that's the most worrying and upsetting thing about about how Kroenke and how we've handled it as a team, but how many other teams have done the same, and it really just what it smacks of is that's what owners think of the fans.
Yeah,
that
it's money.
They don't need our consensus. They don't need any. They don't need any well wishes or blessings from us because they don't care for them. That was the hardest thing for me to really take about the whole debate.
I hope it opened a lot of fans' eyes who don't feel that the ownership is harming the club. So hopefully that's opened a few more set of.
But do you know the most embarrassed? I think the Premier League overall should be embarrassed, like the Premier League clubs particularly, because if you really look at it, the Premier League don't need the money as much as, let's say, a La Liga or a Serie A, because what it is that La Liga, Serie A, they just wanted to get a piece of the Premier League pie, and they convinced us to disrupt our league to do it. Can you imagine the madness? Literally.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It's actually a joke, bro.
It's 3 and we got 6. I'm like,
imagine. It's because Perez basically said, look, we need to be able to get some of that Premier League money. Yeah. But we can't do it without them, man. Yeah. We need 6 of them, man. Yeah.
Let's convince them. And any 6 you want. Any 6 you want.
Well, Tottenham snuck in, so boy.
I don't know how Tottenham got in.
I mean, that's just.
Oh my God.
Do you know how they could have made this Super League actually work, and it would have been sick? You see how in America, where the college game is just nearly as popular as the professional game. What they could have done was get maybe these teams together and say, we're going to start like a youth league internationally. So it gives like a platform for these younger players to build up a profile, have competition with international. Like, they could have made it massive, and that could have been a whole income stream on its own. How young players bust on the scene. That could have been sick.
There is a youth Champions League, though, isn't there? I'm pretty sure that.
There are, but
with money behind it, where there's
another competition altogether.
Whoa,
televised and all that, yeah.
Wait a minute. He's got to be jesting here.
Nah.
Jesting there.
No way, that's
clickbait. Do you know why that's clickbait? Because Bergkamp has said on TV that he doesn't want to be a manager.
Yeah. and not.
If it was a coach, if they said he was coming in the coaching staff, I might have listened to it a bit. But he said, "I do not want to be a manager."
The only thing I know about him is that he did idolise Glenn Hoddle when he was growing up. That's the only thing I know about Bergkamp, but not being a Spurs fan. That's got to be clipped now. That's live.
If he was a Spurs fan,
let's not talk of such heresy, man.
Anyway, he
Blasphemy.
got my attention. That was his
yeah. Good job for that. Good job for that.
He got me there. I was like, no way. But yeah, I think what I want to touch, well, not touch actually, just, you know, Lee, you're doing, obviously, after your football career and everything, you're doing great work now. You have a couple of charities, Brighter Futures through Sport, and you've got the DBA project, and plus, obviously, you've got the Carnival Coaching, which is based in East Midlands.
East Midlands, yeah.
Could you touch on a few, on those for us and give us more information? By the way, everybody, the website links are in the description below on YouTube, so please have a look, donate, you know, show us some love, man, and also for us as well, smash the likes, as we say, and subscribe. But yeah, please, Lee.
So when my last club was Notts County, hence why, you know, moving up to Nottingham. And then I ended up after that playing part-time football, and I got the manager's job at a team called Boston United. And while I was doing that, I realised that I didn't really like the manager lifestyle. I didn't like the win and lose at all costs, and that was part-time. And I'm thinking, wow, this is part-time. I'm stressed. So, but what I did enjoy in that sort of journey, if you like, was taking the young, and not knowing it myself at the time, but taking the young players. We had a couple of 17, 18-year-olds. So after training, especially as offenders, I say, right, you lot with me, we're going to do a bit extra. So I naturally did that. I naturally enjoyed helping those younger ones improve. I think maybe going back to my early days when I had someone do that for me. So I naturally enjoyed that. Roll forward a couple of years, I decided to set up my own business coaching children. So I realized that I didn't have a passion for going into the professional game. I didn't have a passion for going and coaching pros or adults. It was helping kids, no matter what level. Yeah, no matter what level, whether they couldn't kick a ball, for me teaching them to the techniques, or young pros needing that bit of advice and that bit of extra work. So I set up my company going back nearly 9 years ago now. And from that, instead of just coaching football and doing the holiday camps and the one-to-ones, I started working in more schools, and we ended up setting up a mentoring program. So again, maybe from my time before at Arsenal, even not coaching groups, coaching individual children. So taking them out their class, children that might have behaviour problems, some children that struggle within the school environment, some children that confidence is shot to pieces for whatever reason, and working with them using sport, using football. So we would take them out of class, I'd do a little football session with them. They would bring positive schoolwork to the session with me, talking about good things they're doing. And it was powerful. And I think the first kid I had that I mentored, never been to a football game. He was actually a Derby fan. And at the time I knew one of the players that was...
probably why he's never been to a football game.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I bet he ain't been since. So I spoke to the school and said, look, I can get him a couple of tickets if he wants to go with his mum. His dad realised he didn't have no dad at home. Said his mum, you know, so I spoke to the mum. She said, not bothered. She weren't bothered. I said, well, look, I can take him if I've got your permission. I'll take him to the game. So we ended up, I took him to his face, you know, he was only 10, his face. We went and watched Derby. It was a pre-season game. I think they played West Brom. So it was a pre-season game. When it got in the players' bar after, met the players, you know, these, he could not believe it. And that's when I realised this is what I want to do. I want to give, especially with...
See their face.
The power of it, And now he listened to anything I said after that. I told him to work harder.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, why are you messing about? You know? So it was.
That's brilliant.
It was the power of that, and So what I decided was to go into that more, put all my energy to do that, go in more schools, help I saw it work, you know, I saw the power of football, the power of sport to engage with some, not just boys and girls. And about 4 years ago, some of the schools that we were in, I ended up getting in about 3 or 4 schools. Some of the schools we were in had their funding cut from the government, so they were struggling to pay for the extra service that I was providing. So I decided then to start a charity where we could get funding, and I could say to the school, look, don't rely on whatever happens, we'll support you. So I wanted to sustain the work we were doing, not come into these kids' life for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then say, obviously, yeah, you got to go. So my charity, Bright Futures Through Sport, has been going now 4 years. We went from 4 schools to working in now 36 schools. We're working with just under 400 kids every week.
Wow.
And we're making a big difference with some of these kids. Some of these kids have a horrendous, you know, home life upbringing.
I know there's certain parts of Nottingham which are a little bit kind of
tough areas.
Tough areas. And
tough kids.
Yeah.
Tough kids, but not just you know, they're tough kids, but they have to be tough kids. You know, so you know, we work with them, and they're just kids at the end of the day, and as you can imagine. So we're working with, and again, it's not just children that struggle behaviour. Some children we're in some really nice areas as well, and some of these kids, you know, have an amazing home life and they've got everything they need, but they got zero confidence, they got zero social skills. You know, so we're helping them to make eye contact when you talk to someone, to you know, to talk with some authority, to put your hand up and answer a question in class. You know, and we're teaching them that side of life, the life skills. So that's around the East Midlands. Again, that's my charity, Bright Futures Through Sport, with CANOVILLE'S coaching. And I've just set up a project now with 2 other people down London way called the DBA project. And it's doing similar things, but we're working more with high level crime, children in gangs. And we're working alongside the Met Police of Barnet and Harrow, and we're working more with social services. So we're working with a lot of children now that needs to come out of those lives and that world. County lines, you know, all these kind of things. So it's more high level, but it's really powerful. And again, we've seen some massive differences in some kids' lives, and not just the kids, it's the family members we're having to educate a little bit as well. So yeah, it's powerful, it's good, and it's something that I never thought I would be going into when I was playing, when I was running around a football pitch. But it's rewarding, and there's a lot of kids that need it.
It's just crazy how, you know, the turns that life, you know, takes you, you know, for whatever happened, journey that you've had. If you didn't go on that journey, you would never have changed that kid's face. You know, that, you would never seen that kid's face that you took to Derby, you know, and things like that. You know, you have to say to yourself, you know what, when you see that, it's amazing, actually. I can only just sit here and just applaud you, man, because at the end of the day, doing that stuff, making a difference. There's a lot of people who can probably just, I don't know, had the same trajectory as yourself, but just said, you know what, I'm just going to invest, I'm going to make my own money and blah, blah, blah. Not to say that you haven't done that, but you're also putting back in, you know, you're giving back what you know, the experience and the knowledge that you've gained over, you know, your career, and you're putting it to an amazing platform.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the main thing, I mentioned it before, up to the age of 17, 18, I had no knockbacks. I had nothing like that. Everything was, I thought life was easy.
Like, how'd you deal with it when it came? It was like,
it was tough. It was tough. And I'm glad I went through it, because it's gave me the advantages and the experience to pass that on. You know, so I look at the likes of Ashley, you know, nothing against him, but he had no knockbacks all his playing career. You know, everything he left Arsenal, he went to Chelsea, he played 100+ caps. I'm sure he had problems obviously going on in his personal life, but his professional life, his professional life was nice. You know,
Yeah.
from
Very much
leaving
so.
school to retiring.
It was
He
a
had
smooth transition.
smooth, no problems. Don't know what it's like to not have a club, or I went through a few summers with no club, and trying to get a contract with my wife and my kids, and not knowing where we're going to live. We're going to move this part of the country, that part, so it's the things that people don't see, but
True.
it's made me stronger and made me be able to help kids, because I've got some kids that are not going to be footballers. They're just trying to be the best they can. I've got some kids who've got a very, very good chance. They're very talented, very determined. But I keep saying, if they're 14, 15, you got them. When you get 16, there's going to be some things coming in your life. You got to decide what to do.
And they're like what? And it's just like,
don't worry about it.
You'll see.
Just live a little, bro. You be fine. Last question I have, particularly, is one thing I've never understood is I remember like playing with players, obviously a lot better than me. They'd twist up the whole team, score goals in the playground, do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, they'll go to an actual professional football team. In my head, I'm thinking they're gonna make it and they're gonna be this skillful player, etc., etc. Some of them made it, but when it came to actually playing in the first team, they became this one-touch, two-touch passer with the creativity, the dribbling, all that stuff. And I feel like a lot of English players that maybe in their youth teams were very skillful and don't express that when they come into the first team. Like, why is that? Is there something that happens?
Yeah,
obviously it's a lot less now, but
yeah, a lot less now. I think more young kids are coming in and thinking they're the ones to save the club and that, and they're the main players. But the only example I can give is Joe Cole back in the day, because when I spoke about Lillyshaw, he was the year below me, so he was our junior. He was the best kid in the country by a mile. The talent, and West Ham at the time were going to pull him out of Lillyshaw because they felt Lillyshaw were getting him to pass the ball too much. They were going to pull him out, because West Ham were that way of skills, wasn't it? DiCanio, you had all these, they wanted to incite the West Ham way.
The academy, didn't they?
Always had good academies, West Ham, and I think if he'd have been at another club, if he'd have started maybe at another club, it might have been pulled out of him a little bit. And I think as his career went on, it didn't. He was good. Joe, obviously, Cole was an amazing player, but
he wasn't the player that we were hyping him. Because I remember one summer, I didn't know he was Joe Cole at the time. We were just playing football in the park. And he's like, "Yeah, do you guys want to get him?" Like, it's like three of us, thinking, "Okay, cool." Not thinking it was anyone, mate.
Yeah,
he beat us like 16-0 or something. It was ridiculous. And then I see him on the TV. I'm thinking, "Okay, cool. This guy is going to be the new Gascoigne or something," because he's super creative, so much skills. He gets to Chelsea. Obviously, Jose gets involved with him. Then
he got Jose.
That's it. Remember when he dragged him after about 20 minutes one game, didn't he? Because he weren't tracking back. So that's what you end up getting from some managers. So you end up playing that way. I went down into the lower leagues, and I don't think when I was at Arsenal I ever kicked it with my laces. Everything was side foot. Everything was just little pop. Suddenly I'm going into League 2 and it's channeled, bang. And
Ross it.
I'm thinking, I've never done this pass before from right back. You end up playing that way. You end up getting used to it. And I think Joe was a prime example on what can happen if you're not playing with the right coach and the right
team for you.
Yeah, definitely. And things have changed now massively, because England never had no dribblers for years, did we?
Literally. And now
no dribblers. No dribblers. Yeah.
But
Saka, sorry, I forgot to mention Saka. Sorry. How would I forget him?
Lee, do you know what? That's a great time to have with you, and especially
welcome.
Ending on your charities and projects. For me, that's so big. And it kind of says a lot about the person that you are. So congratulations for all of that. Keep doing great work. It's been fascinating, riveting, funny talking to you this evening. Guys, you got any last comments, any last questions for Lee for this evening?
No, I'd like to thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing your stories, picking your brain, and hearing about the work that you're doing as well in the community as well.
We have to get you on one of our reaction shows.
For sure.
You have to go if we get to the Europa League final, man.
When we get to Europa League final.
Yeah,
yeah.
come on for the reaction or the preview.
I'd
love to have you, Lee.
I would. No, thank you guys for inviting me on. But yeah, anytime.
Who's your current favourite Arsenal player? That's
my current Arsenal. Tierney. The reason why is, one, I was a fullback, but two, I just think he's the only one in that, not the only one, but he's one of the main players that I can see something happening with him going forward every time. And I just like his whole
heart, his
energy. Yeah. Gets on with the game. He's explosive. He's quick. He wants to do positive things all the time. I see these left backs and right backs all the time, just popping it back to the centre back all the time. I see him.
He wants to make something happen.
Yeah, he wants to make something happen all the time if he can. I love that. And
I almost look at him as like a throwback to our age growing up. You know what I mean? When we talk about what young players have to deal with now and how they kind of react to that, I would see, like you might say, oh yeah, you could not take a player from today and have them playing when you were playing, when you were playing, because they just wouldn't be able to handle how it was. But with Tierney, I 100% think you could take him back. You could have had him peaking, in your era. And I think when you look at him mentally, how he approaches the game, you would think he would be at home still. He wouldn't be as affected, because he just gets on with it.
He just quietly, gets on with it quietly, and I think I just like the way he plays. When he's not playing and I see he's in, I'm like,
you can tell.
You can really see, and you don't usually think about it as a fullback, do you?
Real talk.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But I'm like, they're going to miss Tierney today. I'm thinking, wow, I'm saying that about a fullback. But
did you just say they, or did you say us? I was just
It's got a big heart, man.
I just had to check you on that, Lee. Was it they or us?
These guys are sharp.
Sharp, isn't it? Yeah.
But listen, want to thank you, as I said. Bless. Thank you for coming on. It's been great. As I said, it's an eye opener. As I said, I never knew half the stuff, more than half the stuff, man. And it's great talking this evening.
It's nice to go back down memory lane, guys. So thank you. Yeah, it's nice.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. And listen, great stuff, and good luck with the charities and stuff. Obviously, we'll put it on. We'll smash it. We'll try and circulate as much as we can as well on our platform. So we'll do what we can for that as well to get it requires.
I've just seen Trev at the bottom. It's BFT.
Oh, okay.
Just to get that on there. I've just seen it now, to be fair.
Okay. BFT. Cool.
BFT and then sport. No worries, mate.
We'll change that. We'll get that changed. And we'll smash this and just kind of promote it as much as we can.
Appreciated, yeah. Because
if you ever want to expand to Nigeria, I'm your guy. You never know. Academy over here.
You set up a coaching school in Nigeria. I'm sure next Kanu might come from there. You never know.
Officially got my FA coaching badge 1 and 2. Just say it. Just say it.
We'll have to chat.
For sure.
Lee, guys, thank you very much, Lee. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
You take care,
man.
And you guys,
smash the likes, smash the subscribes.
Exactly. Everybody. And thank you for tuning in. We out.
We are Arsenal.
When we born,
We love Arsenal.
oh yes,
We are Arsenal.
no mercy.